Oh, hey! You want to learn about street photography? Well, I don't know much, but I got a great lens for you. No, not this one. The Mir 1, 37mm f2.8 lens. I'll tell you about it all inside. Come on, all you gotta do is click, comrade.
Добрый вечер.
Здравствуйте, товарищи.
The Mir 1 lens was designed by D.S. Volosov in 1954 and was produced for several decades later in the Soviet Union. The Soviets reworked the optical scheme of the Carl Zeiss Jena Flektogon 35mm and produced an arguably better 37.5mm f2.8 lens. And it's no coincidence that both of these lenses have 6 elements in 5 groups. Now you might think that it's a direct copy, but if you take a look at these side by side, you'll notice that the engineering is quite different for many of these elements, which actually improves the design significantly over the original Flektogon. The superb engineering was put on display for the entire world to see at the Brussels World's Fair in 1958. The Soviet presentation at the expo was awarded the Grand Prix prize, and this lens has worn this badge of honor ever since. These markings can be different from lens to lens. The export versions use Latin characters. Domestic copies use Cyrillic. And if you've got a rare version, a pre-58 version, you'll have no markings at all. The lens itself is about 2.5 inches by 2 inches and weighs about 8.5 ounces. The minimum focus distance is 0.7 meters, but there's a hack involved with removing the near distance pin, which gives you a few more millimeters of focus distance on the close end. There's a preset aperture ring that goes from f2.8 up to f16, and the aperture ring itself is declicked, which is ideal for video use. The aperture has 10 blades, which produces a nice, soft, round, diffused bokeh. The Mir 1 is a standard lens, and that term refers to lenses that fall between 35 and 55-ish millimeters. The standard lenses most closely resemble our natural field of vision, which is why they're so popular for street photography. Wider lenses like the 16mm or the 24mm can often distort things, and wider lenses like the 85mm or even the 135mm can really make things seem very zoomed in and separated from the background. This 37mm lens fits perfectly in the sweet spot for a great street lens. This lens has 2 very big things going for it. Firstly, it's an incredibly sharp lens. Secondly, it's got a lot of character. Now, I hate to use that word, but honestly, for the price of a Black Mist Pro filter, you can get the real deal in a much cooler package. So, adapting this lens to a modern mirrorless camera is very easy. As I had mentioned, this is an M39 mount. All you need is an M42 step-up ring and an adapter from M42 to whatever camera it is that you use. And you're ready to go. I wanted to see what this lens could do, so I decided to take it out for a photo walk. When I can get good focus, this is a damn sharp lens. Flares quite a bit, huh? Oh, the smells here are really cool. Somebody's cooking some meat somewhere. Look at that. Now, just as a side note, I did not add these bird sounds. This was actually the first really nice day of the year, and they were just out having fun like me. It's awesome. I found these alleys very romantic for some reason. There was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of trash, and they just framed up really nicely. That was awesome. Hey, you dropped your thing, man. Hey! So it's probably clear I don't generally shoot on a 35 or in this case a 37mm lens, as you notice that I'm cropping in on most of the processed images. I'm trying to learn from a street photographer named John Free, and if you don't know who he is, you should check him out. Now, I think most people would generally agree that a street photography lens is anywhere between 24 and 60 millimeters. The Mir 1 actually hits a real nice sweet spot at 37 millimeters, about halfway between that 24 and 60 framework.
Taking pictures of the cigarette butts? No. Tired now, I'm just taking pictures.
Oh.
Testing out lenses.
Yeah, it's a hobby thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Smell the smell, man. I know somebody's getting ready for lunch.
All right.
This used to be part of a bar called the Derby, the Brown Derby, and I used to bar back here when I was a wee teen.
After I got used to the fact that the focus ring is in the wrong spot, I found that this lens was very easy to take photographs with. It's light and it's small and unobtrusive. It's actually perfect for street or vacation photography as long as you don't need to zoom anywhere.
I think though I've gotten a pretty respectable minimum focus distance on this bad boy since that modification. I mean, I know I'm not 2 feet away from that. Excuse me, how long has that place been on Chinese food? The bank been a Chinese food place?
I don't even know.
Long time? Fucking Japanese bar. That's crazy, man. That's a beautiful building.
There are actually quite a few famous buildings in Lowell. This one's been a favorite of mine for a long time. One of the amazing things I noticed about this lens is the fact that it has basically zero chromatic aberration, which was one of the advantages over the original design of the Flectagon. I've lived or worked around Lowell for most of my adult life. What better place to test a street lens like the 37mm Mir 1? One of the first things that I noticed was that there was a slight yellow tint to this lens. Between white balance on location and in post, it still persisted, so I kind of left it. I guess it's part of the character of this lens. I'd seen some really cinematic videos highlighting the flares that you can get from this lens. I wasn't terribly successful, but I'll get it eventually. Every bit of its almost 65-year history has contributed to the bloom that you see here that diffuses the light so nicely. Lowell is not glamorous. You're not going to find a Newbury Street here or any fancy boutiques. It's a working class town. This was a very easy lens to walk around with for most of the day. It's light, it's unobtrusive, and it doesn't stick out or draw attention. The lens renders colors robustly. In fact, after correcting to 709, I had to dial down the reds and the oranges a bit. In fact, I still feel they're a tad hot. The contrast on the Mir 1 was pretty low, which made focus peaking difficult. That, and my lack of experience with this lens, might explain why some of these clips are sharp and some of them are soft. Most of these shots range from f8 to f16, so keep that in mind. When I was able to nail focus, the resolving power of this lens really showed itself in the bricks. And there are a lot of bricks in Lowell. And every single one of them was placed there by a hand. And every brick tells a story. I guess for me, the story for this lens is that it's great for photos, but I probably wouldn't choose it for video until I got a lot more experience with it. And as I promised, here is the super easy close focus hack. You'll notice on the very back of the lens, this circular plate. Some of the older ones have one screw, some of the newer ones have two. Just take that screw out. You don't have to go all the way to loosen it up. Just give it a good turn and it should come right out. I'm going to separate the two halves. This is the pin for the infinity focus point right there. And this is the pin for the near focus point. We're going to take that out Make sure to put it in a safe place. I bet you can't replace it. Put the two halves back together. Screw on the metal plate. Tighten in the screw. And you are done. You've got yourself at least half of the minimum focus recovered. Nice. So as I promised, looks like we're coming in under a minute. Okay, well, maybe that's an exaggeration. Obviously this was edited, but it's clearly a very easy project. So, in conclusion, should you buy a Mir 1? Well, these Belgian folks are pretty smart. And if this wide-angle Mir 1 earned their admiration and their Grand Prix prize, it's probably good enough for you. So it's sharp, it's cheap, it's full of charm, and it's seen a few things. And if you're watching this far, you probably already want a Mir 1 lens. So what are you waiting for? Go get it. Thanks so much for watching the video. Click Click Comrade is a brand new channel, so we could use all the support you can muster. If I got something wrong, or you have something to add, please leave a comment below. And always, if you like this video, you can subscribe below and click the bell icon to be notified when new videos are released. Thanks.